The River Wharfe is a winding river which sluices through the English countryside. This meandering and twisting waterway is home to a number of trails that follow along its banks, which have proven to be popular local recreation areas. Although, as I covered in the short I released earlier this week, traversing such trails while riding on a Segway can prove to be potentially fatal. However, the cliffs flanking some sections of these trails are far from the only hazards presented by the generally lazy meandering flow of the River Wharfe's waters, as this largely unassuming river is actually host to some of the most dangerous waters in the world. A few miles upstream of these aforementioned deadly cliffs, hidden within the lush, vibrant forests of the region, the waters of the River Wharfe narrow from an approximate width of 90 feet wide to a width of just 6.5 feet wide over a relatively short distance, as the water is funneled through a 213-foot deep channel etched into the surrounding sandstone by the flowing water over time. Due to the river's rather swift and dramatic narrowing, the water of the river is churned through this deep channel, resulting in this section of the river's unique and highly deadly rapids, which is known as the Bolton Strid, or simply the Strid for short. The true dangers posed by the waters of the Strid are somewhat concealed by its rather beautiful and otherwise unassuming appearance, with its banks flanked by mossy, overhanging rocks. The water which flows through the Strid has garnered an infamous reputation over the centuries for its fast-flowing, churning waters that have long been known to be nigh inescapable should one suffer the misfortune of accidentally falling into them or making a foolish attempt to swim through them, as the powerful cyclical flow of the water being forced through the narrow, deep channel results in a type of current known as a drowning machine, with this type of current earning its name due to just how difficult they are to escape from once one has been caught within them, and are the reason for the particularly high number of deaths involving low-head dams. However, the forces of the Strid's drowning machine are incomparably far more powerful than any low-head dam's drowning machine, as anyone unfortunate enough to enter its waters will be swiftly dragged beneath the surface of the water and subsequently pinned to the bed of the river, helpless to resist against the forces of the current until they inevitably drown and are then swept downstream. While the Strid's waters have been known for their lethality for centuries due to its breathtaking appearance and surroundings, the Strid and the surrounding area remain a popular location for visitors to frequent to this day. However, strangely, the number of victims that have perished within the Strid's waters is rather nebulous, as it is widely known that the Strid has claimed lives in the past, but this is surrounded by a general vagueness surrounding just how many people have actually perished within the Strid. So for this video, I rounded up as many of them as I could find. The first recorded death within the Strid dates all the way back to the High Middle Ages, as it would occur in the year 1154. The victim in this incident was a boy named William de Romilly, who was the son of a local ruler and had set off into the woods surrounding the Strid in order to embark on a hunting trip. Allegedly, William attempted to leap across the narrow gap in the rocks surrounding the Strid, but slipped on the slick stone and plunged into the water, where he was never seen again. As a result of William's death, his mother, Alice de Romilly, would grant the land to Augustinian monks to pray for William's soul, which resulted in the construction of the nearby Bolton Abbey, which notably in modern times offers parking for £15 for quick access to the Strid, which seems like a kind of random little nugget of info, but will be somewhat relevant to another story later in the video. Admittedly, The next reported death, suffered within the waters of the Strid, is lacking in its overall verifiability, as this death has long been part of local legend, and thus there is seemingly no traceable date to when this incident possibly occurred. The victims of this alleged deadly incident were a young couple who were fleeing from their homes in order to elope together. However, fearing that they would be caught, the young woman would opt to avoid traversing the nearby Bolton footbridge in favor of leaping across the most narrow part of the Strid, instead to join her husband-to-be waiting for her on the other side of the river. However, much like William de Romilly, the woman slipped on the slick rocks and tumbled into the churning waters below. Seeing her plunge into the river, the young man would leap into the water in a futile attempt to save her, and they both would subsequently drown. The victims, who would become the next reported deaths within the Strid, share some similarities to the last alleged incident, although the exact details of this incident are much better documented than those of the last, as it would take place in August of 1998. The victims of this fatal incident were a newly married couple, consisting of a 29-year-old man named Barry Collett and a 25-year-old woman named Lynn Collett. On the second day of the couple's honeymoon, they would park their car at Bolton Abbey to take a walk along the banks of the River Wharfe near the Strid. However, after they embarked on their walk, they would never be seen alive again. Lynn's lifeless body would be recovered from the River Wharfe downstream 6 days following their disappearance near the town of Addingham. As for Barry, notably, another man named Desmond Thomas, who was hiking in the woods near the Strid with his family on the day of the couple's disappearance, would report that he saw the lifeless face of Barry, as well as an anorak jacket, briefly emerge from within the churning waters of the Strid for just a brief moment before disappearing back within its depths, recounting, quote, "I went to the water's edge, and just as I got there, I saw a man's body, who I now know to be Barry, pop out of the water. The face popped up towards me, and within a matter of seconds, it disappeared," he recalled. Barry's body would eventually be recovered 10 miles downstream from the Strid on October 16, 1998. An autopsy of both Lynn and Barry's remains, conducted by coroner Jeremy Cave, would find, quote, "There is no indication of third-party involvement or taking one's own life," he stated, a sentiment which was echoed by police tasked with investigating their deaths. Notably, it was believed that the couple had been swept into the Strid as the result of a surge of water from upstream that was thrusted into the Strid, causing it to rise 5 feet in the span of under a minute, in a similar fashion to the rising water that occurs during flash floods in the slot canyons in southern Utah, a topic I've detailed in a few of my previous videos, and it is believed that the rising water caught the couple off guard and swept them up within its turbulent waters. Barry and Lynn Collett's tragic deaths would not mark the final fatal recorded incident within the Strid, as the next fatality would take place a bit over a decade later, on June 5th, 2010. The victim of this deadly incident was an 8-year-old boy named Aaron Page, who was celebrating his birthday with his family members just upstream of the Strid, near the Bolton Bridge. Aaron and his older brother Josh were playing in the river along some stepping stones that led across it when Aaron would lose his balance and subsequently plunged into the water and began to be swept by the current downstream. Unfortunately for Aaron, he had fallen into the river near where it begins to rapidly narrow, and he found himself completely caught in the increasingly powerful currents within the water, hopelessly unable to escape them. Witnessing Aaron's plight and fearing for his safety, His family members would contact emergency services to help rescue him from within the water before he reached the Strid and inevitably drowned, and both firefighters and paramedics would immediately respond to the call and would begin to focus their efforts to rescue Aaron from within the river near the mouth of the Strid. As Aaron helplessly floated towards them, a firefighter posted near the mouth of the Strid was able to extend his hand out to Aaron to grab onto, which he did. However, it was too late, as the firefighter would lose his grip on Aaron as the powerful currents of the Strid sucked Aaron beneath the surface of the water with its immense force, where he would ultimately drown. Aaron's family were devastated by his passing, with his brother Josh stating, quote, "I didn't know it was that deep, really. I've just got to say bye, haven't I?" he said. Thank you all for watching.